Thank you for joining us for Pet Connect. I'm Tara Douglas. My guest today had to cancel over the weekend, so I thought it'd be a great opportunity to bring my husband Jonathan on the show with me and be a co-host of sorts. So, Jonathan, thank you for coming on the show this morning.
I'm glad to be here.
I think our dogs and cats are upset that both of us are gone this morning,
They are.
but we are here and we've got some good stories for you. We typically don't talk much about who I am on the show, but we have been here in our office a year this month. So we were thinking back to the whirlwind it's been. Jonathan and I are both chiropractors and we own Broadway Spinal Care downtown. And we moved a year and a half ago to get back home, and we brought 2 dogs with us when we did it. So we thought we'd talk about traveling with dogs for a couple of minutes.
It's not easy. It's not easy traveling with dogs. It's not easy traveling from Washington with dogs.
We were about as far away as you could get and still be in the U.S., but we loaded up an Expedition that we rented and we put our 2 dogs in the back, and we were rookies with traveling with dogs. I'm sure people that do it all the time don't have any problems, but we thought it'd be good to give people some information about what needs to happen when you do need to travel with your animals. So
yeah, it actually started before that because we adopted Ivy and we had an opportunity to fly her, we thought, and then a tropical storm came in.
because we adopted her from here and
Yeah,
had
so
to
we-
get her back to Washington.
So we had to be in Washington on a Monday morning to see patients, and we woke up Thursday morning with the plans to take her to fly, and we had to decide we had to drive her to Washington from Gulf Shores. That was crazy. So that was our first experience with traveling with a dog, and
And you would have
Yeah.
thought we would have learned a lot from that, but
Yeah,
it
we
was still
did.
difficult to get 2 dogs across the country.
it was.
But
Yeah.
what was the hardest that was surprising to me, because you see so many people traveling with dogs, is that there are not many hotels that will take dogs, especially dogs that are larger, because Ivy was 50, 55 pounds, and we had Penelope, our 70-pound dog, and we quickly learned that it was hard to find places where we could stay.
Yeah, it's also really hard to find because they put you in rooms that are next to other dogs typically, and if you have a dog like Ivy who hears any other dog and wants to bark, then all night long all you do is have your hand on Ivy and say, please don't bark, please don't bark. So I would think some kind of sedative or some kind of better plan for them to sleep, because it was a nightmare. We basically did not sleep for a whole 3 or 4 days of hotels.
But we did get them here, and get them here safely.
We did.
And you know, when you're traveling with the dog, one thing that we found, it was nice to have their beds with us so that we could go into the hotel room and at least have something familiar for them to sleep on, so maybe they could be a bit comfortable.
Yeah, we had to have a plan. Tara would go in, try to get everything set up. One of us would take them out, see if they'd use the bathroom. We'd alternate, get it to go, and then again, we'd just put our hand on them all night and say, no, Ivy, no, just sleep. And so, yeah, then we got caught in a snowstorm. It was not supposed to snow, but did snow on us,
That was
traveling
exciting.
through the pass in California. And the dogs wouldn't pee in the snow, something we didn't anticipate. And so we walked around a place called Weed, California. You remember that?
Which was
That
a weird place.
That was crazy. In a neighborhood that didn't look great. We didn't realize for, 10 minutes, 20 minutes trying to get them to pee in the snowstorm. That was something.
Good times.
That was good, but
it just made it all the better when we finally got here.
Yes.
And we're so happy to be back home once we got here.
yes.
Now, again, we've been here for a year and a half. We got the office open a year, and we've also been very busy with all of our activities with Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill and volunteering. And Jonathan has been coming out almost every weekend to walk dogs at the shelter and to help me get the dogs out. And let's go ahead and talk about Elton. We've got his picture popping up here. So, Jonathan, I'm mainly coming in and out and grabbing dogs. I think you've walked Elton quite a bit. So.
Yeah, I've walked Elton. He's a favorite of some of the dog walkers. They
is.
say, can Elton come out and walk with me? The thing that's surprising, if you really come out and walk these dogs and meet these dogs, is that we don't have bad dogs in the shelter. I think a lot of people come and they're just really surprised. We just have really, really great dogs that just have not found the right opportunity yet for some reason. But Elton's one of those. I do not know why Elton is still there.
We
I
had
really
a
don't.
we had a mother-daughter duo that came out Saturday for the first time to walk, and these are pictures that they took for me, because the daughter was 14. You have to be 18 to walk a dog, so she's 14, and she took pictures while her mom was walking the dog, and she did such a beautiful job taking these pictures, and they fell in love with him just like everybody else falls in love with Elton every time they take him for a walk. So if you're interested in adopting, then come on out and meet Elton or any of the other wonderful dogs we have there. And we also have Crazy Days coming up on May 20th here in downtown Sylacauga. So we're going to have a lot of activities going on in town. But in addition, we have an adoption event at PetSense on that Saturday, May 20th, and we'll have some dogs out there. Now, this little kitten will not be available for adoption that weekend, but this is Highway. Highway, you see Highway on that right front leg has a cast. He was brought to PetSense, speaking of PetSense, I think it was yesterday, and someone had found him on the side of 280, and he had a broken leg. So Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill were called, and we came in and got the kitten, and Mitzi's Martin took him to the vet, and he's got a little cast on for a little while. And if you go on the Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill's Facebook page, you can see a spot. We're trying to raise money for his vet bills because we had to get x-rays, and they think he's going to be fine with just setting his bone there, but we'll have to get more x-rays here in a little while as the bone heals and make sure that he's good. But thank you to the person who picked him up, and certainly thank you to PetSense and Ashley there, the assistant manager who gave us a call, and thank you to Mitzi for getting that cat to the vet and getting him taken care of. So if you're interested in Highway, just stay in touch and keep a close watch on our Facebook page so you can see more pictures of him. Now, Jonathan, we talked about you being at the shelter. There are some Saturdays you can't come, and that's because you're also the tennis pro for Sylacauga. So tell us what's happening with the tennis and pickleball and everything else you got going on.
So everything's going on at the tennis center right now. Pickleball started in January. Some people said, why are we not doing pickleball? And I said, well, let's just get a group together. And we started out, and we now have about 40 people that show up every night. We've got almost, on Tuesday nights, we've got almost every court taken every time. We have 4 courts that are lined now for pickleball. It doesn't affect tennis in any way for us to put lines on there. But we've got those going, and then we put tape on the other 2 courts. And every Tuesday night, I give free pickleball lessons. So people come that are beginners, and we always have beginners showing up. And we just work on the basic skills, and then we integrate it in with the better players. Our better players are really, really good at taking the beginners and making them feel comfortable and teaching them the rules. And last night, I saw there were 2 beginners I didn't even know were there. And some of the advanced players were just teaching them how to play pickleball. So I said, do you need my help? They said, no, we got this. So, that's, in some of the other places, because we've traveled now to play pickleball, I can tell you that there's a cliquish kind of a situation going on where you walk up and they say, you're not playing in this group, you're not good enough, whatever, even if they don't know you. But we're not doing that. So if you show up, you will be immediately helped, and you will leave with a good feeling and know that you're a part of this community, and it will always be like that. We're never going to get to the point where we don't have people coming in and feeling like they're warmly welcomed.
So I've had a lot of people ask me about pickleball, and it is kind of intimidating to go and start something new and to get out there and have that many people out there and think, okay, I've never done this. But like you said, everybody that I've talked to that tries it for that first time, they come back and say, yeah, this was really a lot of fun, and people are very welcoming, and they just get out there and have a good time.
We do, yeah. And with tennis, so in the summer, we've got beginning team tennis, which is 7 to 12-year-olds that are really beginners that are going to be feeding into the high school team. And then we've also got advanced team tennis, so the high school players are going to be helping to teach the beginners. And so tennis is a lot different than pickleball. It takes months and months and months, if not years, to learn how to play tennis. In probably an hour or so, somebody can be playing pickleball. So it's not intimidating. It's way more social than it is a competitive situation, at least at our level.
And you've got people that will set up on courts and actually play some games, but you also have people that set up and just hit the ball back and forth and have a good time.
With pickleball, you mean?
Yeah, pickleball, not tennis, pickleball.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we have people that are diving for balls. I mean, we really do. That happened last night. And then we've got people that are just purely happy to hit a ball over the net, and it's wonderful. A lot of people have not played tennis in 20 years, and they miss being on the courts. And so it's just great to come out and hit some balls. We have extra equipment. We're going to actually put a little cabinet out there that's going to be a little loaner pickleball area where if you show up, you can have paddles and balls available. And so we're going to try that, but we just want people to be able to have access to it. Really, it's just about exercise and getting out there and moving. And you wouldn't believe how nice the people are and how inviting it is. And it's just not intimidating.
That's great.
Yeah. And we have little ones too. I mean, I have kids showing up now, and that's great.
So if you've had some tennis in the past, you said a lot of people haven't played tennis in years. How does that carry over to pickleball skills? Is it easy to pick up pickleball after you've been playing tennis?
I think it's kind of It's a very similar stroke, but I always give people the instruction that the ball doesn't bounce, and they say, what do you mean by that? And then you hit a ball to them and they see it just does not bounce. So with tennis, you anticipate it's going to get on you real quickly. With this, you have to move into the ball. So you watch our tennis players, they always step back and let the ball bounce twice, like what just happened? So there's a little bit of a learning curve on that, but the strokes are the same, and then once they get it, then they get it. And you can't move up to the net to volley, and you always see our tennis players move right on up, and then they have to learn that lesson. But
they're in the kitchen.
They're in the kitchen,
yeah,
whatever the kitchen is. But yeah, so it's great. But if you've been on courts in the past, then it's easy transition. And if you haven't, then we've got people who purely have never touched a racket, and they're out there playing good pickleball. So it can happen, and the lessons, really, we're just doing this for free. Some nights I just drill and do nothing but lessons all Tuesday night, and then some night there are no beginners and we actually play. But there's some kind of game going on, and then if you go to Sylacauga Pickleball Facebook page, then you can always see when people are playing, because it happens all week. It happens in Childersburg, it happens here, and so you can find a pickleball game.
And I can tell you that Jonathan really enjoys teaching tennis and pickleball. We were down in Gulf Shores and he went to the pickleball courts there. I was somewhere else and I drove up to pick him up, and he was out there teaching somebody's grandkid pickleball that he didn't even know. So he was out there playing with that group, and then they said the grandkid was there, so Jonathan pulled him to a court, and he's teaching lessons in Gulf Shores, just like he does here.
It just kind of organically happened. He needed help, and so we didn't have anywhere else to play, so we did it.
Now, before we talk about dogs again, tell us a little bit about what's happening with team tennis this summer.
So we really need some kind of a feeding in system into the high school. Right now we have kids showing up in 9th grade that want to play tennis, and they've really never played tennis. And so that's very, very difficult at the high school level. They're doing a great job, but it's very difficult to become competitive quickly if you've got people that are just basically beginners with advanced people also. And so we've got young people, and that's the plan for the next few years, is we're going to have this beginning team tennis, and these kids are going to learn all the fundamentals, and they're also going to be assigned a mentor from the high school so that they're attached to the team already, and they feel like they're a part of the team. And they're going to have little mock tournaments, and the older kids are going to help them learn how to play, learn how to score, learn how to show up and compete, so that day one, when these kids can come in 8th and 9th grade, then they're going to be ready to play on the high school team. And if we're going to be really competitive and win state at some point, we have to have kids that are doing that. And so we got beginning team tennis going to be on Monday, Wednesday night, Thursday nights, and then advanced team tennis, those kids are going to help teach the beginning, and then they're going to come and play after. And in addition, we're also teaching an agility course out at the tennis center, and that's for any athlete. We've got a lot of baseball players and soccer players right now, but we're going to expand that a lot this summer because footwork is such a big part of tennis also, and we're missing that. And so that's kind of blown up on me a little bit. I didn't expect for it to be as big, but there'll be more announcements on how we're going to do agility courses. So we're going to keep kids moving out there because fitness is such a big part of playing. Tennis players, for some reason, just kind of show up and hit tennis balls. And you really need to be running drills, and they need to become faster off the court so that when they get on the court, they can be better. But no, we're going to win state at some point soon. We've got about a 5-year plan of how we're going to make this happen. Cindy Cleveland is so great at running that team, and I'm going to start feeding her people that are ready to go on day one.
That'll be great. And if you ever need to talk to Jonathan, if you drive by the courts and there are 5,000 balls out on the courts.
There are 5,000 balls. There's
then you know he's out there.
600 balls max, but it looks like 5,000 balls.
It looks like a sea of balls when Jonathan's out there
There are a
teaching.
lot of
So
balls.
if you need him, he's out there if there are a bunch of balls on the court.
Yes.
Now, let's talk a little bit, because we're in the middle of puppy season. And Jonathan and I have just kind of gotten our feet wet with fostering puppies. And so we always need help with Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill fostering puppies. We get messages all the time this time of year that people find puppies, litters of puppies, single puppies, and we don't have enough fosters. So if you've thought about fostering, you can contact Feral Dogs, you can contact us. We're happy to talk to you about it. A lot of the other fosters have posted on Facebook. They're happy to talk about it. But what was your take on fostering?
So I think the first take is that the puppies don't need to be in the shelter, because that's not a great environment for puppies there's just nowhere in the shelter that's really set up for puppies to thrive, because they need social interactions and they need love, and they do not do great just in a barking kind of an environment.
The shelter's loud.
The shelter's loud, and they do the best they could possibly do, and they do an amazing job for the overwhelming amount of puppies that come in. But puppies need to be in a home and have somebody pet them and have them in their lap and all the above, or they just kind of are wild and crazy. And so that's the number one thing. And then they can show up at the shelter and there could be 10 dogs that just got dropped off, 10 puppies that show up. And I mean, it happens all the time. So there's an overwhelming need, number one. And number two, really, they supply everything that you need. All you have to do is go out and feed them and clean up and then just give them a lot of love. They can stay in their cage. And you wouldn't believe the love when you wake up in the morning and you go out there and they see you and they just freak out. And it's so nice to go and drop them off at because there are rescues that come with these big vans and pick them up, and you drive up and there's just all kinds of cars in the Home Depot parking lot and all these people that have devoted their time to saving these puppies. And I think it makes you feel good about the community at large.
A lot of good energy there when
It's
you
good
drive up,
energy.
because a
It
lot of
really
these
is.
different rescues, they'll send vans through, and the two times Jonathan and I have dropped off dogs, it's been at the Home Depot parking lot, and they will get dogs from Sylacauga, from Talladega, sometimes from Anniston, and so you have all these people that have been keeping these puppies, and they drive there, and you get them on that van, and then oftentimes you'll get to see on Facebook when the dogs that you fostered got adopted, and that's exciting to see that they've gone to a home, because sometimes it is hard to find homes for puppies around here, obviously, but they have a chance when they get to go somewhere else.
Sure.
So if you, and unfortunately for people that are finding puppies right now, we don't have enough fosters in our foster system of feral dogs to bring more puppies in, but anybody that's interested in fostering could help that whole situation. So, please contact us and let us know if you're interested in it. And like Jonathan said, the Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill provide all of the supplies, they provide all the knowledge that you need. You just need to have a space, and everything else will be provided for you. And
Yeah, when we say they provide it, I mean that's all donation based too. So even if you can't foster, if you could just send $10 even, anything helps, because it is hugely expensive to buy all the cages and the food and all of the things. And then if something's exposed to something like parvo, then you can't use any of that stuff again. And so it's very complicated and very expensive. So any money that can come, even small donations, are amazing to keep all that going.
Absolutely. And the shelter and feral dogs are always in need of puppy food. So dry puppy food, wet puppy food. If you're going to donate some food to the shelter, puppy food is really what's always in need, because those puppies go through a lot of food, and there's more adult dog food available there than puppy. And then you get into the fact that the puppies need puppy food. They can't eat the adult dog food and stay healthy. Because we brought in a foster that was a medical need that mainly had access to adult dog food, and he had rickets. And so at some point I'll show some pictures of him and his journey on Pet Connect, because he's done great with getting the right vitamins and nutrition and everything else. But Jonathan, thank you for coming on the show.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm sorry we haven't had you on here before. I've been on here almost a year and we haven't had Jonathan on here yet. But thank you for coming on the show. At some point, if I have a cancellation, we'll bring Jonathan on again and he can update us some more on tennis and dogs and pickleball and everything else. But thank you for joining us today, and we'll have more Daybreak after these messages.